Welcome back to Health Kindness here on Northwest Digital News. Kevin Hunter with Jody Summers. And Jody's wearing her white schmuck today, so she looks like Dr. Summers. But not to be confused with a doctor. All right. So we're going to talk about healthy kids heading back to school and some things that you might want to know. And, you know, I've had the advantage of actually looking through some of the stuff that you shot to us to consider for today's show, Jody, and this stuff is spot on. So anybody who's watching, listening today, this will do wonders for your kids. So let's get started with sleep.
You know, I could have started with how to study better. I could have started with, you know, what kind of better behavior you're going to get from your children. All of those things. It all comes down to if your child has super good sleep, a lot of those things are take care of on their own. So sleep is so we just don't talk about it enough. We just assume everybody's getting enough and a good night's sleep, especially when it comes to kids, because, you know, they sleep hard, but oftentimes they don't sleep enough. And so the guidelines generally for healthy, happy kids range in little groups. So if you're, you know, newborns, you just let them sleep when they need to sleep. But once they get to, you know, past the toddler stage, like 3 to 5, when they're maybe thinking about going to, you know, preschool a day or two, you know, if they're getting 10 to 13 hours of sleep total, that is really normal and healthy. And that's not too much. You know, it's just right that 12 hours, maybe a little bit more. The tween years, you'll see a little bit of a drop, and that's between 9 and 11 hours, pretty much just a little bit more than an adult. But then when you get into the teen years, you're going to see that increase again. So if you have high schoolers, you know, if you're watching this and you have kids who are in junior high or high school, and all of a sudden it seems like they're sleeping more, and while they're lazy because they want to sleep, there is a difference between sleepiness and laziness. And at that age, so they do a ton of growing when they're obviously when they're newborns, and we all know that, and we don't feel, you know, we don't make babies feel guilty about sleeping. I mean, that would be stupid.
And very difficult.
It would. You can't make a baby feel guilty about anything. Yeah.
You stop sleeping all day.
But,
what?
because their brains are growing so quickly. But you know, when we get into those teen years, their brains grow almost as quickly. And so when they're not sleeping well, you're going to find all sorts of issues, you know, study habit issues, attitude issues, real health issues, like physical health issues. So, you know, there is a difference. I mean, I'm not saying, you know, if you're a 16-year-old, you know, is up all night and then, you know, you say, okay, we're going to clean the house tomorrow, and they're sleeping until 4 o'clock because, okay, that's a different thing. You know, they're trying to avoid work. But I'm talking about they're truly sleeping, like they go to bed at a reasonable time. They will sleep more in their teen years, and that's actually quite healthy.
Got it.
It's needed for mental health. We see so much mental health issues now with this young tween and teen ages that sleep is one of the top things that you can do. And to get a good night's sleep, obviously you need to go to bed and not have computer stuff and all of those electronics, whether it's a watch or whatever it is, just put them aside outside of the room and get in some good blackout shades. I think that is a really underutilized way to help people sleep better. I use the little sleep masks. We have dark shades, but they're not super, super dark. I wish we would have picked a true blackout. They're kind of in between. Had I do it again when I upgrade, I'm going to get a blackout. But I wear a sleep mask, but I don't think you're going to get a 12-year-old to wear a sleep mask. So the best we can do as parents is make their room as dark as possible.
Now, this is probably a rhetorical question, but with all the behavior modifying drugs that kids are on these days, which we never had years ago, by the way, but all these behavior modifying drugs that kids are on today, do you think sleep is actually just one of the things that parents should be thinking about first instead of going, I need to get my kid on drugs?
No, I think drugs is always our first line of defense. Yes. And it's interesting because it's sleep and it's food and we're going to talk about fun. I mean, I'm not talking about fun like video game fun or movie fun or TV fun, but like we're going to talk about those things. And when you go into the doctor and you say, the teacher says that, Susie Q or Billy or whatever is having some, focus issues. And what do I do? I don't think I've ever known any of my clients to come back and say, oh, well, how much sleep is Billy getting? Or, is Billy playing outside? I mean, it's like, oh, okay, well, let's try this drug and see how, he or she responds to that. When the other things that are really the root causes haven't even been looked at, much less trying to even change them. They're not even addressed.
Got it. So you mentioned food. What are some things food-wise that we can do to send healthy kids back to school?
And I didn't even know which one to start with, whether it is sleep or whether food, because food in the morning, we've had these shows before about fasting. And obviously that is for completely grown up, not growing adults. And I have said breakfast is not the most important meal of the day. I should have said breakfast is not the most important meal of the day for adults who are completely grown up. If your brain is developing still and you are going into a day of focus, starting your day with protein and healthy fats is super important. It is way better than starting your day with any carbohydrates. And although kids need much more carbohydrate than adults, they should probably start with fat and protein, because that doesn't spike their blood sugar. Therefore, when their blood sugar drops, they get out of focus. So what you can consider is when you give kids, any kids, high school through junior high, elementary through high school, cereal, toast, pancakes, French toast, granola bars, non-fat fruity yogurt with granola on the top. Things that we oftentimes will think of. I mean, people don't think of, sugar-coated cereal as healthy. I think everybody knows that it's not. But, then you think, well, is shredded wheat healthy? Well, not if you want kids to learn the best they can, because their brains are made of so much healthy fat that to focus, you need that stabilizing energy and healthy fats to learn. So things like eggs and eggs. Like on my notes on the side, I literally have eggs, and eggs. Like those, that's what I would start. If I were to raise my children again, every day there would be a different variety of eggs. And I think there was an image that I sent with even deviled eggs. People who don't even like deviled eggs, who don't even like eggs in general, they say don't like eggs, tend to like deviled eggs because they're a different consistency and you can actually add all sorts of things at the top. They're super easy and fast to eat. There's no issue of, is it quick enough? They're already pre-made. You grab, enough 2 or 3 in their hand and they put that in with a piece of fruit or a banana. And that'd be a fabulous breakfast for a kid running out the door.
I want to add something about the eggs, because you mentioned if somebody doesn't like eggs, maybe consider trying deviled eggs. Here's something else that I'd mention. There are people out there that have egg allergies. And interestingly enough, I'm actually one of them. But I eat eggs regularly. Yes, but I eat eggs regularly. And here's part of the why. You know that this past year, we brought in 17 little chicks, and we have a bunch of egg-laying hens at our house now. Here's the thing, is when we bought any eggs from the store, and I love eggs, I've always loved eggs, but I developed an egg allergy to store-bought eggs. If you buy these at the store, I have not experienced being that violently sick than if I eat eggs coming from the store. It's just, I'm not even going to share the details with you. It's just super gross. I was that sick, right. And yeah, it totally destroyed my day. And even on one occasion, even after we started having farm fresh eggs, And Steph had brought in some store-bought eggs because the hens weren't laying enough eggs. I didn't know that they were store-bought eggs because they were the brown eggs that said organic and everything else on them. Made those eggs. I thought they were our hens' eggs. Ate them, again, got very sick. But I never get sick from our eggs on the farm. So there's definitely something going on with eggs from your grocery store. And I have no idea what it is. But if somebody is not liking eggs or having allergy or problem with eggs, try farm eggs. It was the magic for me.
And when you try those farm eggs, which it makes perfect sense because what they eat, we are eating. So they, if they're fed certain grains or certain soy or whatever it is, then we eat them. So basically we eat what they eat. But the other thing, if you're coming out of a true egg aversion or egg allergy, the yolk is almost always, even for people with egg allergies, the yolk is usually okay. Now, if you're having a soft boiled egg, it's hard to separate the yolk from the white.
Right.
But if you make a hard boiled egg, it just pops right out, and you can smash that up and put it, so you still can get the benefits of the yolk, even if the white causes distress or whatever it is. So as you're transitioning then from store-bought eggs to farm-raised eggs, start slowly with the yolk, because that will, if there's still a problem with the yolk, then there's clearly a problem. But it's the egg white that gives people the issue, not the yolk.
Now, you also mentioned breakfast and how important that is. I just want to point out to people that breakfast, by the name, the definition of name, break fast. Yep. You're breaking your fast from the previous night. If you're somebody who intermittent fasts like my family does, that means break fast is actually happening at noon because we do it later than first thing in the morning. But you mentioned about how important it is what you eat first of the day. And we've always eaten a good diet anyway. When I say always, I mean in recent years, we've always eaten a good diet anyway. But what you stated about blood sugar and about how if the child is consuming carbs as this first meal of the day, and how that spikes their blood sugar and makes them unfocused. A doctor who has specialized in diabetes said exactly what you just said, that if you wake up in the morning and eat the wrong meal, you'll spike your blood sugar. She also said, though, that when you eat that high-carb breakfast, you not only spike your blood sugar, but you set your cravings and what your body wants for food for the rest of the day, too. So you are very much inclined to eat junk food for the rest of the day if you eat the wrong breakfast.
And I know this is about children, but for those who do the intermittent fasting and then let's say you're planning to do a full day, a 36-hour fast, it is so much easier, and I've learned this from firsthand experience, that if you do a protein fat day previous to that with no carbs and cut them out completely, and I mean maybe some spinach or something, but I mean no simple carbs, it makes your fasting so much easier. You're not even craving anything. It's just crazy the difference that it can make. But since we're not talking about fasting and we are talking about children, one of the reasons I actually put this slide in here is because although it is super important to start them with a high quality protein and a healthy fat, and both the eggs cover both of those, but there's other things too. Kids do need more carbs than adults. Because they're moving more. They're just doing more stuff. They're just more active, and they just need that. They burn it off a little quicker. And so some of the things here, like fruit and vegetables and even beans, would be a great way to start. I know on this slide there's a little bit of pasta. I'm not sure I'd start my day with pasta, but we tend to, at least on this show, we talk a lot about high fat, high protein. But when you're talking about kids, they do need a very good proportion of healthy carbohydrates. But again, I think that as a country, we've clearly moved even them way, way too far on the pendulum by giving them nothing but processed carbohydrates for breakfast, like a bowl of cereal with non-fat milk, toast, and jam, but cut back on the butter because, that might damage their heart. I mean, it's ridiculous. So healthy carbohydrates for children and teens as well is certainly unless they have diabetes or something, is certainly a wonderful addition to, not in place of, but in addition to healthy quality proteins and quality fats.
And for parents who say our kids don't like these healthy fruits and vegetables, whatever they have other preferences, I just say it's nonsense. It's what you've been feeding them. So stop feeding them the junk food, start feeding them the good food, and you'll be surprised how quickly they start eating it. Let's talk about supplements, because you have some ideas on supplements and things around probiotics. So share a little bit of that.
So, we've talked about sleep, we've talked about food, and one of the things when kids go back to school, one of the big issues is helping them focus. And, how can we get kids to focus? Well, if they get a good night's sleep and they feel rested and their brain is, and their food is not spiking their blood sugar, they're going to have better focus. But there are additional, really, I just consider them support ways, but not instead of what we just talked about. Those are the foundations. This is the supplementation. So things that will help them is a probiotic. So oftentimes, if we have poor gut bacteria,
that came out interesting.
Gut bacteria, it sends, the whole mental health issue with kids and teens and tweens. I had a 14-year-old in my office yesterday who suffers from now newly anxiety, and it's like at 14, and she has a pretty good diet, but it's time to start on a regular basis of getting that gut bacteria back to be healthy. Megaspore is by far my very favorite probiotic. There's two types of probiotics. One comes from food, which we've talked many times about, fermented foods. And again, if you can give your kids fermented foods, even with their eggs, that would be amazing. But if they're not going to take that, then a good spore-based from the soil probiotic, and Megaspore is clearly the best on the market. There's really nothing that even compares. Unfortunately, it is something that you do get from a practitioner. So you can either go to your doctor, your naturopath, or your chiropractor. If you want, you feel free to reach out to me. I can send you a link of where to get that product just delivered, but you do need to work with a practitioner. But it is the best. It's amazing product. The second thing would be additional healthy fats. And if your daughter or your son is eating lots of healthy fats, this may or may not be needed. But if they're eating a lot of poor fats, such as chips when they get to school, or any deep fried stuff that the school might, which just I don't understand, but whatever. They're eating fish and chips or anything that's deep fried. They're going to need a balance of healthy fats. And this particular brand is another one of my favorites. And now this one you can get anywhere at your grocery store, oftentimes Whole Foods. I tend not to buy supplements on Amazon because there's a lot of fraud that goes on there. This Nordic Natural brand is fabulous. And this one's actually it's not so bad. It's an orange flavor, but just add it into a smoothie a little bit for them. They won't even know. I mean, don't take it by the spoonful. That's punishment.
That's fairly disgusting. Yeah.
They're going to turn that lady off. But yeah, just add it in, and it's really good for their brain health, for their focus, for their mental health, and for their neurological health. And the cod liver oil is just a really good way to get that vitamin D as well. Other things that I'm a big fan, again, I'm a certified aromatherapist, is I use essential oils even with my granddaughter who's 1.5. Now, obviously, you want to use children's safe essential oils. And what I like about this company, it's plant therapy, and you can go online and look. It's only available they can use them at school or use them before when they get back home from school. There was immune support, which is a good to rub on your hands, instead of a hand sanitizer. I believe here's No Worries, which is helping them relax. So if they're taking a test, they're coming in from lunch, they can use that one on their temples and the back of their neck. And I think there was another one, here we go, Attention, which is again for focus. And you can get a lot of these and put them in diffusers when they're studying. Rosemary is one. I wouldn't put it on their skin, but rosemary is one that you might want to diffuse, especially for the high schoolers. Really, I used it for studying when I was studying for my exam for the aromatherapy. It helps you remember and focus, and rosemary is really great for that. It has a great smell around the house.
Mm-hmm. So in terms of just a little tip, because I'm not an aromatherapist, but I have used essential oils in my household for many, many years. And when you talk about essential oils safe for kids, if you just do, for our viewers out there, if you just do a little bit of research on what some of the hot oils are, your phenols and your terpenes and things like that, if you just do a little bit of research on that, you'll find out which essential oils have a much higher quantity of those oils in them, and those are generally the alcohols that you want to stay away from as far as kids, because they will be your hot oils. So, all right, yes, I want you to talk a little bit about necessity of child play, getting outside, having fun, exercise, all that kind of good stuff. Wow, I want to share with you a little bit of my experience in the military. 17 and 18-year-old kids, some of whom were regular offenders who had spent time in juvenile delinquent centers, some of whom were ordered there by judges, so it didn't matter like where they came from and what behavioral problems they'd been showing before. Within a short period of time, being on a regular exercise program in the Army, and then, of course, having this forced lot better nutrition as well. But no doubt about it, exercise created this huge young kids.
And it is not just exercise, it is exercise outdoors. Like,
bingo.
I'm not talking have them go upstairs to your extra bedroom and walk on the treadmill. That is not even remotely what this is about. It is getting outside, because the fresh air, the running around, even for high schoolers, if you put them to work doing weeding on the weekends, like that's their job. Give them a household job where it's outside, kind of force them outside rather than having them clean their bathroom. Not that they shouldn't be doing that anyway, but rather than having them do that as their job, have them weed, have them put down the new garden, that kind of stuff, where they're in the dirt, because the dirt provides probiotics. The sun provides energy and vitamin D and serotonin. And so your teenager is suffering from any kind of anxiety or depression. I don't even know. I'm looking at the stuff I talked about, but the sleep is important. The food is important, but the sunshine on their skin, I think, is probably the number one thing. If I could only pick one thing for your teenager who is depressed, it would be get outside, moving in the sunshine, because then if you're doing that, then you're going to be tired and you're going to sleep better. And in the morning with that sun up, you're going to sleep better, and in good hormone. And then it spurs on 12 hours later a production of melatonin, because that's how our bodies work, which helps you sleep. So outside, exercising, moving, sunshine, dirt. I don't even know which one of these is most important, but they're all super important for healthy kids. And you'll notice that none of these things, the top one was making sure your children are vaccinated is, yeah, I mean, and it's not, the topic isn't about vaccination, but when you hear healthy kids, and that's usually I kind of did some research on this before we went on, and I can't tell you that 90% of the sites I looked at, it said, make sure here's the vaccinations for your kids to be healthy. It's like, what about real health? What about what? Because
this was actually yesterday, my two little girls, Jackie and Allison, and this actually happened several times throughout the day. So I took a few of these pictures of them giving each other hugs, and I can tell you this, you guys, when I was looking through this material that Jody supplied for this show, that getting the proper sleep, getting the proper food, eating the right meals when you wake up, getting outside and having fun. Little 3-year-old Allison and 5-year-old Jackie are the best of friends, and this is how they get along, because they have all four of those things. They don't have any attitude enhancing or attitude changing drugs in their system. It's just all food and just the good old stuff that we've learned and researched. And Jody, to your credit, a ton of what we do in our house of things that we have learned over all of these various shows that we've done with you, and we use this stuff. We aren't just here broadcasting a show, you guys, and saying, hey, well, that was good information, and then going home and eating McDonald's. No, we actually put this stuff to work in our home, And look at these two happy little vibrant girls. They are the outcome of what we have done. And I'm so thankful. Like I thank God every single day that these two little girls came into our lives when they did, and that we have learned what we've learned about health and nutrition. They did, and that band-aid them into good health. We actually create the foundation for it. And so everything you shared today, Jody, dynamite stuff. And I hope parents out there actually do this for their kids and send them off to school. By the way, Jackie just turned 5. She'd be eligible for kindergarten, but Steph's been homeschooling her. She already graduated kindergarten stuff. She's in her first grade stuff.
Yay!
It shows you.
Coming, I don't know if you know this, coming from a 13-year-old veteran homeschool mom. I homeschooled my kids up for 13 years.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah. So, I mean, it's you talk about all these things and really prepping your child for learning. It's really fun talking to them, not just because they're little kids and they're happy and everything else, but interestingly enough, they actually converse like adults. They will absorb your vocabulary and they'll advance so much faster by giving them this kind of foundation that Jody has shared with today. I hope you guys do it for your kids. You owe it to them. Kevin Hunter with Jody Summers here on Health Kindness. Thanks everyone who joined us. Go out and make your kids ready for school. Till next time, take care.